The following program is intended for mature audiences.
The time is now for the hardest hitting, yet completely trivial football show on the planet.
You are in rarefied territory.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Broken Helmet.
Let's rock.
And coming to you live on tape on this Thursday, August 11th, 2022. Preseason continues chugging right along as you have the first real weekend of games coming up after last Thursday's Hall of Fame snooze fest. Tonight, you got two games. You got the Giants at the Patriots and then the Titans at the Ravens. And those games look to be featuring not a whole lot of anything as starters are sitting everywhere per the preseason usual. Giants right now at -3 with an over-under of 34.5. Ravens at 3.5 or -3.5. The Ravens are with an over-under of 32. Does any of that whet your appetite there, Christopher? Preseason game lines.
Yeah, not at all. Not for 1 second.
No? I was thinking you take the over-unders, you juice them down, and you take the overs. So
I mean, I guess you could, but we know nothing. I mean, you know nothing about these guys.
No.
Nothing.
Very little. Very little. Scoring always tends to be on the lower end, but you take the 6, you make that 28.5 at the Giants Pats, and then you take the 32 and you make that 28 or 26 for the Titans Ravens. I mean, you're just looking for 30 points. Last week they got there at the what was the over under last week for the Hall of Fame game? 32 or something like that?
Yeah, they were there at like halftime.
No, I think they hit it like super late, but they hit it in the fourth quarter. I
thought it was lower. I thought it was in the 20s, and then they. You're probably right.
I think I was at the Orange Lantern with McShane, and he thought the over under was 30 something. We were watching, and then it was like, oh, there it is. They tied the over under, and then they broke it thereafter. But anyway, preseason football. I mean, all the best to you if you want to go gamble on it. It is the truest form of gambling that there is, because I don't really see any kind of edge you can have in either of those games. I mean, nobody's playing, right? I just read Kadarius Toney's out, right? I mean, the Patriots came right out today and said, yeah, none of our offense is playing.
But here's the question. What's worse? Women's college basketball or preseason NFL?
I mean, from a obsessive gambler perspective,
yeah,
preseason women's college basketball, but like legit in season.
Yeah, early season.
Yeah, I know it's preseason football because you could still try to get people that watch women's college basketball will have a feel for the teams, and somebody out there that watches enough of them can get a read on something. But preseason football, I mean, your guess is as good as mine. You don't even know who's going to play. Half the time, it's nobody. They really should just get rid of preseason altogether.
All right. I got one.
Okay.
Preseason NFL football.
Yeah.
Or Jai-Alai.
Jai-Alai.
You know what that is?
Highlight, dude. Yeah, highlight.
Yeah, I know.
I live down in Florida too.
Yeah. That's worse, dude. That betting on that is
no. Again, if you are a, as you said, Jai-Alai fan, you will probably watch a lot of Jai-Alai, and then you would have a read on what's going on. And so somebody out there who is a Jai-Alai enthusiast and aficionado will have some kind of feel where to put his money. But again, preseason football, I mean, number one, you got to deal with who's playing. Number two, you haven't seen half of the people, so you don't know where they are. Especially if you're a team like the Giants or any other team that has a new coach, a new coordinator on either side of the ball. You really don't know what you're getting. There's a lot of variables to it. So I would say still preseason football. I would go with Jai. Jai is the safer bet. Jai
is really bad. If you're at a track, like I was at the racetrack with Dad like 2 years ago, and like you can flip the channels on the little TVs next to the table.
Yeah, sure.
I come across this game, and Dad's like,
some degenerate is watching it, betting on highlight.
Yeah, you bet like exactas. It's just like horse racing. I'm like, what are you talking about, Dad? He's like, yeah, it's a sport. It's kind of fun. I'm like, oh, no.
Well, remember, back in the day, the only reason that you might even have known what the fuck highlight was if you were outside of, let's say the South Florida area or another. I don't even know exactly where highlight is featured. But, I mean, the reason most people figured out what the hell it was because there was a clip of it in the beginning of the Miami Vice intro. Remember when Miami Vice, the intro to it was all Miami. But if I'm not mistaken, there was a whole thing of highlight players, and people were like, "What the hell was that fucking sport we just saw? Oh, that's highlight. What the hell is that? Oh, they played down in Florida.
It's huge down here. It's huge.
Well, I lived there 03 to 07, and I mean it was kind of like dying, right? The dog tracks and the highlight were dying out. They were trying to reinvigorate them. They threw poker everywhere to try to keep the place alive. Maybe it's had a boom. Didn't they turn one of the highlight parks into Mardi Gras? I think the name of it's now Mardi Gras. I don't know. Again, I've been out of Florida for quite a while now. So
they took a horse racing track. The plan was before the pandemic. They were closing a racetrack and they were turning it into a highlight, arena, court, whatever you want to call it. And I don't know whatever happened with it after the pandemic. I know everything got shut down, but I mean, it's still something that people talk about. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, it's got its own little niche fandom, and it still exists. Yeah, obviously generating something for it to still be around, because God knows, today's day and age, you're not going to operate anything like that at a loss, because why bother? It's still rocking and rolling, still existing somehow, shape or form. So again, if you're comparing, preseason football to some of these other sports, it's going to be, few and far between that you actually pick the other sport as more degenerate than preseason football. So, that's where we're at right now. We got those games coming up tonight and then more games tomorrow. Do they have ones on Saturday too, or is it just Friday night? I haven't even looked at the schedule.
It's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
They got ones on Sunday too. They're really trying to free. Well, the big announcement today on games in the future, and I don't think it's this year, I think it's next year, is that they're going to do a Black Friday game. So they've got the Thursday games, right, which they have now 3, and now they're going to have a Black Friday game. And it's going to be on Amazon, right? And so that was very intriguing because it kind of makes sense, right? Amazon is the anti-Black Friday. Well, at least the old way you used to think of Black Friday is waiting in lines and then crashing through the door and getting the 180-inch TV that, is in existence at your local Best Buy. But, so Amazon, you get to sit home. So they're like, no, sit home, sit on Amazon, buy all the shit on Black Friday, and here's an NFL game, though,
it's, what do they call it? Cyber Monday or whatever? They have their own little...
Yeah, well, that was Cyber Monday. So, I imagine... But, I don't know because I don't do a whole lot of Black Friday shopping. But Amazon probably participates in Cyber because don't all the Cyber Monday deals come out early anyway? There is really no date. Everything.
It's October. It's like Halloween, and companies will send out a mass email like, "Hey, Cyber Monday starts today."
It's
like what
the internet ruined everything.
Talking about
the fucking internet ruined everything.
We're having a 30-day Cyber Monday sale? That's pretty cool. Like, let's do it.
I mean, great, but God, the internet has kind of just ruined the I don't know, the importance of anything time or location specific. It's just kind of crushed it because now there is, Black Friday sales all year long. Okay, well, fuck Black Friday. Who wants to wait on the line?
Or the some websites and some companies still use the here's the real price, but the price that you're going to get today is $300 off, right? I'll give you an example. Like Best Buy, right? Everything they have, every single product they sell is retail price is $3,000, but you get it for $2,500.
Oh,
right?
it's the old Kohl's approach, right?
Right. So the other day I saw this TV I really want, the new Samsung OLED TV is $3,000, but it's $2,299, and I'm like, wow, like that's $700 off. Like that's another $500 off than what it was 2 months ago. And so then I'm like, wow, that's a really good Best Buy deal. And then I go to Samsung's website and it's $2,299. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah. Well,
all you're doing is trying to manipulate people into buying this product from you by having a red number with a minus symbol next to it.
It's all
That's
lies.
all you're doing.
It's all lies. You go into Kohl's and you go buy a whole bunch of shit. You get to the register. They're like, oh, this was $300 and you got it for $78.99. Whoa! I saved myself $230. How the hell did I do that? Oh, that's right. None of this shit cost that much to begin with.
I went to Publix today to get some stuff for Christian. And I go down the chip aisle because I have to go down the chip aisle. I love chips. And
who doesn't like a good chip? I love a good chip.
I love a good chip.
I bought 2 boxes of Triscuits last night.
Oh, Triscuits are just the devil.
Roasted garlic and garden herb are the 2 I went with.
So thirsty by the time I'm done with that. But I come across the Lay's and these poppable things, and it's like 2 for $7, right? So I'm like, oh, that's a good deal. And then you look at their price tags, and they're like $3.28 a pop. I'm like, wait, I get 2 for $7, but they're only $3.28 a pop. What? Like if I buy them separately.
Oh yeah. So you're spending more doing it the other way.
Yeah, doing it the other way. I'm like, that doesn't make sense. Like what? Yeah, so with tax, maybe I save 16 cents? That's what you're telling me?
I don't know. Kohl's is different because Kohl's would basically mark up anything you buy and then which is fictitious, and then show you these monster savings at the end, right? And it'd be like, oh, you got the pillow for $10, but it used to be $55.78. It was like, no, the pillow was never $60. It was a $10 pillow that I bought for $10. Now, but now that the way that they sell it at the end with the savings and everything that you saved, that's everywhere. I mean, I go to the Acme or the A&P, and it's all like, oh, look, you saved $30 at the end. It was like, what?
It's funny those stores haven't made it to Florida. Like there's one Kohl's I know of that's like within 50 miles of me.
Well, no, it's different down there, right? I remember when I worked for NFL Properties, I did a big retail research project, and the Kohl's down by you is something else, right? I mean, Boscov's or Dillard's or something. I forget.
Yeah, there's a Dillard's, and then there's a lot of the big super centers, if you want to call them that. Like Target Supercenter, BJ's Supercenter, BJ's Wholesale, Costco. Like those are much bigger down here than.
Yeah. Well. Also, there's more of a Walmart footprint in Florida too.
They're everywhere, dude.
Yeah,
everywhere. It's funny because I go home and my first thought is. Like when we fly up next week and we want to go grocery shopping, my first thought is going to be, okay, where's the closest Walmart?
Yeah, right. No, it's in Teterboro, by the way. So if you want to haul ass down there.
Yeah, no.
We did start doing the BJs a lot more, only because on the bulk item stuff, it's just stupid not to. You go to again an Acme A&P, you insert grocery store here, and you go and you buy one of those 4-gallon jugs of Poland Spring. It's $5. You go to the BJ's and you get an entire case of 40 of like the 2-liter bottles or whatever the hell it is.
Yeah, the super centers are just going to put people up. Freaking Walmart just bought an NFL team. Like, come on.
Yeah, they are pretty much everywhere, right? And I think they own multiple sport franchises too, right?
Yeah, it's just.
Did they have to sell?
Center...
I should know this, and I did know this at one point, especially since I listened to all these damn podcasts talking about it. But did they sell the Nuggets or something? I forget what it was, but
did BJ's, did inflation raise the prices at BJ's too?
We don't go enough to know, right? I mean, when we're going, we're just buying like the bulk items that you're like, it's stupid not to buy them here. Water or paper towels or, some kind of cleaning supplies. We don't buy, the other stuff like eggs, right? Eggs right now, they're saying it just increased 47% in inflation from, I think, the beginning of the year.
Eggs are crazy. Dude, what about meat? Like,
yeah.
There's no lack of meat in this fucking world. Why the hell are you raising your prices 33% for meat?
I mean, the meat and steaks and all that stuff has been on a tear for quite a while now. I mean, that's been getting racked up constantly. The chicken's going up because of the bird flu, which killed, that's been a story for quite a long time, but I guess now it's finally filtering in, which is why you see the chicken and the egg prices go up, or at least they say. I don't know. All right, we're going to get into all kinds of economic talk here, but, we got with preseason lined up tonight, and we're doing fantasy, so we're going to get into running backs. We'll cap all of the rest of our side talk here. We'll go into some news and notes here, just to touch on preseason whatever news. I just said that, Rich, spit it out, you fucking dummy. Matt Stafford, bad elbow, mystery of the preseason. We talked about it last week. They still don't have an answer. I guess
he's fine.
He threw a little bit last weekend. They think it's okay. Nobody really knows, though. Might be a pitch count thing. It might just be a whole bunch of bullshit. They don't even know. Tom Brady, he just pieced out for 10 days. Anybody concerned about that at all?
I'm guessing you went on vacation, right?
That's what it feels like, right? It was like, hey, I came here for a couple of weeks. I played with everybody, and I'm fucking out.
Yeah, I'm gonna play. I'm gonna come out of retirement and play. But listen, I have a trip to Jamaica set for
right.
the middle of training camp. How are we doing this? You guys cool with that, or?
Yeah, it sounds as what's funny is that. I listened to the Pat McAfee show had some excerpt, a little like 1-minute clip where they were talking to who does NFL Rap Sheet? Ian Rappaport, is that who does it?
Yes.
Or maybe it's somebody. But anyway, they were talking that's exactly what they thought it was. They thought he just had something pre-planned, and then when he came back to the Bucs for the season, it was like, hey, I'm gonna have to take 10 days off here because we're doing this. We already planned this trip.
Yep.
And they were like, yeah, fine, whatever.
Dude, Rappaport is the Schefter wannabe.
I mean, I guess. The Schefter thing, his rise to fame was kind of corny anyway because, he was a Denver.
Can't knock him.
He was a Denver beat reporter, right, that the NFL hired, and then basically he was just like, give me your stories and I'll feed them on air, and then everybody and their brother was like, yeah, here's a story, here's a story, here's a story, here's a story.
He pays him. He pays him.
Yeah, but I'm just saying he got put in that position. My question is, had years back Adam Schefter been somebody else, insert, local beat reporter there. I mean, let's say it was Ian Rappaport. Maybe, let's say ESPN hires Ian Rappaport instead of Adam Schefter. Rappaport's probably in Schefter's shoes right now.
Well, you said that the NFL hired Schefter. NFL didn't hire Schefter.
Oh, I didn't mean NFL. ESPN. You know what I meant.
Yeah. So I thought maybe you knew something like he's employed by both. I don't know. But
no, I remember. I mean, it was years back that when I was still working at 790. Levitard used to talk about it all the time, and he was just actually in the news saying something to the same effect now, but. It's just basically the ESPN effect, right? It's like if you're on ESPN, you're good. Now, I don't know if that applies anymore because ESPN has really fucking went downhill. And it is not quite the entity it used to be. But obviously, the idea is that ESPN gives you power that your name alone just doesn't have, right? So I just wonder if ESPN had that kind of impact for Schefter. Now, you can't argue with it now. He is a fucking monster.
I can't figure out why on earth all these beat reporters that are at training camps, that are at the team's facilities, why do they keep feeding him this information? Like, I've thought
Feed
about this.
Who? Feed Schefter?
Yeah.
Nah, Schefter gets it himself. But, I mean, Schefter gets it from whoever. But, it's kind of scratch my back, you scratch mine.
From who, though? How does he beat everybody to the report? He beats everybody.
I mean,
he is the first to report shit.
Dude, your cell phone is instantaneous. It's instantaneous. All you need is somebody to feed you. How many people are sitting at training camp? 8 million, right? So all you need is somebody sitting there. You could pay a stringer and just been like, hey, send me info, that you know.
Okay, how does this go? So, what was the kid's name? Trevor Lawrence, number 1 pick in Jacksonville. Right, let's say he goes down, tears an ACL.
Sure.
Schefter's the first person to report it. What is the chain of command there? How does it start and how does it end with him? Like, there has to be middlemen.
Well, no.
That aren't.
Oh, you mean at ESPN? No, I think at this point with Twitter, because this happened to him, did it not recently in the past? Wasn't there a story he broke and he was wrong about it? And he had to walk it back?
I don't know.
I could have sworn it was a big... But anyway, well, he was getting... Remember when he was getting fed the picks from the NFL draft? And everybody was like, asshole, you're ruining the draft because you're giving everybody the picks before the card comes in, so why even watch the broadcast? And then they curbed...
I do remember it, yeah.
And they curbed that. But basically, I think when it comes to Twitter and people, let's say, like Schefter, I'm sure they have... The editors have just said, fuck it. We don't need to review your tweet before you send it. Just send it. We trust you. So somebody gives it to Schefter. Schefter immediately publishes it. Boom. Instantaneous. Bang the bullets. Takes no time at all.
I know, but who gives it to him?
It could be anybody. GMs, scouts, assistant coaches. Stringers he might pay to just sit there and watch the... it could be anybody. ESPN probably, on top of like beat reporters, ESPN affiliated, they might just have regular stringer, college kids right out of school that just sit there and watch practice for, peanuts and just
feed it and feed
it. There's tons of ways you can skin the cat there, but. The real good stuff is the inside stuff that Schefter gets. And he gets that because he's got relationships and access to all these GMs and coaches.
Well, for sure. He has relationships that nobody can match. Right. He's built such a network that I wonder how much he gets paid. He must get just to be the face of...
I think Bet-Win was trying to steal him, and because we talked about this, that's going to be the next group of media entities that come and invade the space is going to be all the gambling sites, because they're just going to start housing their own reporters and et cetera. But I think Bet-Win, if I'm not mistaken, was it Bet-Win? Whoever it was, you could look it up. It was either Bet-Win or there's somebody out there that wanted to grab him, and then ESPN turned around and just gave him a shit ton of money. So
$1.2 million a year. He's worth more than that, man.
Come on. How much money can you give these guys, right? Stephen A. Smith seems to be the top. Did we say it was $3 million a year that he was making, and then we were proved right or wrong? Whatever it was, but 1 point whatever to do what he does. Come on. If he was gone, somebody would be in that spot doing the same shit.
How is this public knowledge?
Oh, what are you doing? Like the celebrity net worth? They just try to. Sometimes it's leaked. Sometimes the contracts are leaked. Agents don't do that.
Yeah, Stephen A. Smith makes $12 million a year.
$12 million a year now?
Yeah.
Oh, geez. Okay, I was way off. I don't know where the $3 million I got out of. But anyway, Well, I mean, speaking of relationships and making a ton of money, Roquan Smith wants more money, and he's ruined the relationship that he's got with the Bears right now because he's all pissy and moany about his contract. So he wants a trade. I don't know why. That makes me scratch my head because Eberflus, who's their new coach, is defensive-minded, and he came from the Colts, where Darius Leonard, Shaquille Leonard, whoever you want to call him, he made a great beginning of his career working under Eberflus in defense. Obviously Smith wants money, but I just feels like he's going all about it all wrong right now. So go to the quarterbacks. NFL wants to shelf Watson for a year. I have no interest in the story at all. However, now the Browns are saying they're considering Jimmy G if Watson is canned for the year. So if they get their way and they get to do their big PR spin that, oh, yeah, he is a filth bag and we booted him from the league for a year, it looks like it'll be Jimmy G for the Browns, possibly. I don't know.
Well, the bigger news about that is if it continues. I read about this last week. If the suspension continues into the 2023-2024 season,
no, it won't. But go on.
But if it does, then he will be subject to lose $45 million?
Yeah, well, or a portion thereof, right? Because that's the way that they structure the contract. They did this whole thing under the assumption that he was going to get banned for a year.
He was going to get banned for a year,
right? And then for whatever reason, they never wanted to take that, and they pushed back against it. And all of a sudden, they got this gift of the 6-game suspension from the independent, auditor, judge, whatever. And then the NFL was like, "No, we don't like that." And because the NFL gets the final say, they do the appeal. And I guess I don't know where it goes now. Maybe an arbiter. I've been following the story, but again, I could care less. I was calling him Sexual Chocolate last year because his name was Watson, not Randy Watson, but Deshaun Watson. And I thought I was pretty witty and funny. But now I am very tired of it because it's been 2 years, and so I'm fucking done. I don't want to, or at least a year and change. And I can't talk about it.
He has the right to appeal whatever the NFL says too. So yeah, he could possibly.
If he loses it, he'll just take the year and he'll be done with it, and then it'll be like, all right, are we finally finished with this? Like, stop going to rub and tugs, or like stop trying to make individual masseuses your own personal rub and tugs. Go to Orchids of Asia or some shit like that. Just go there. Don't.
Michael Vick is the only person I know that was away from football for as long as Deshaun Watson's going to be away from football and came back and was successful. I can't name another person.
Oh, I don't know. I'd have to do research, but I mean, it would just be a year. It would be 1 year.
Yeah, but he missed all last year too. It's 2 years.
Oh, yeah, well, they benched him last year. Yeah, so it would be 2 years, right? Well, I was going to say, while Adrian Peterson blew his knee out and then he came back and won the MVP the next year. But yeah, I mean, a 2-year hiatus, that's like Mekhi Becton right now.
Let's get it straight. It's a 2-season, but 3-year hiatus. Like, he hasn't played football since 2019, 2020.
Well, no, he was out last year. He played the year before that.
Right, so he didn't play. He hasn't played a game of football since 2020. He won't play another game of football until 2023.
Yeah, so we're talking 2 seasons. That's what he missed.
2 seasons, 3 years.
Oh, because
I don't know. There's gaps in between.
We're splitting hairs here.
Yeah, but whatever. Regardless, that's a long time.
Yeah, I mean, it is. I mean, luckily for him, he's a quarterback. And the quarterbacks are super protected right now. The defenses have been very much neutered by the removal of all the physicality that the secondary can have. And so, I don't foresee why he can't come back and then with an off season and the rest of it, get back to the way it was. I mean, he might be rusty at first. I mean, shit, look at Russell Wilson last year. He got his finger all banged up and he came back at the end of the year and he didn't look anything like he did, earlier in the season. So I'm sure he could be rusty, but I mean, I'm sure he'll come back. He's still young. That's why they threw all the money at him because he wasn't old, right? I mean, what, 25, right?
I was going to say 26. He's got to be somewhere around there, yeah.
Yeah, so, Tom Brady's 46 for crying out loud. So, shit, Deshaun Watson could have, he won't, but he could have 20 years ahead of him. So, what's a season? Who gives a shit? But anyway, we've talked about this way longer than I wanted to. This is what happens every time you hear people start talking about Watson. It's like an endless fucking sea of nothingness. It's like, yeah, okay, the guy got busted. He's going to be out for a year. I love to hear everybody just sit there and pontificate. I don't know if that's the right word. I think it is, though. About, he's such a bad guy and he's such an asshole and blah, blah, blah. And it was like, you guys didn't talk about this all last year. Then you talked about it for a hot second this year. Then you stopped talking about it when it looked like he got 6 games. And then everybody started talking about it again when they wanted to make it a year. So, whatever. Deshaun Watson is in Shitsville. So are the Browns. Their season is basically toast. Let's go more toward running back news. Mekhi Becton, done for the year. So the Jets bring in Dwayne Brown. Super old, but they need something. That might impact, obviously, Breece Hall, whatever, the rookie, along with Michael Carter. So that might impact that a little bit. Melvin Gordon, he's got a bad foot, although not thought to be serious, but, he's an older back with a bad foot. And then finally, which you told me about right before we started, was guess who's hurt again? Rashad Penny! Yeah! Guess what? Everybody knew that was going to happen, and sure enough, here we are. So he's dealing with a groin injury. So that is basically the news and notes on this Thursday, first week of preseason games. So that said, you want to jump into, I know I got you here for about another half an hour, so you want to jump into our running back rankings here for fantasy season?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, cool. Strategy, tits and tidbits. Tits? I just said tits. That made no sense. Tips and tidbits, I think is what I meant to say.
Tits and bits.
Yeah, tits and tidbits. Tips and tidbits, whatever the fuck I was trying to say.
This is our tits and bits section.
God, let's just fucking rewind that. So anyway, running back strategy this year. We're looking, we said this last week, but running backs are kind of a huge risk, probably more so than all years past, because there's a lot of injury items and question marks abound. I think handcuffs will probably be key for several of the specific backs. And there doesn't look to be a lot of dependable rookies, where you used to be able to lean because they used to grab these guys and throw them right in there. So is there anything that I'm missing there, or overall top-level thoughts that you got on the running back position?
Well, 6 or 7 are still going in the top 12, which is kind of shocking to me because of what you just stated.
Yeah,
especially somebody like Christian McCaffrey, who's played, 4 or 5 games, 6 games, 7 games over the past 2 seasons. Combined.
Ton of injury risk, and people just seem to be accepting it.
Yeah, Christian McCaffrey, you're talking Najee Harris without Ben Roethlisberger. And from what I understand,
Roethlisberger was garbage last week anyway. But I understand what you're driving at there.
But he was. He knew how to play the game.
I agree. I know what you're saying there. You're going from at least an established quarterback, albeit maybe not as good, to a complete question mark in whoever you throw in there.
Yeah, and what are they ranking there? Their O-line is being ranked 24th.
Yeah,
24th.
Line isn't great, right?
Line is horrible.
So
he's the biggest bust potential. He has the biggest bust potential out of the first 10?
Okay, I think
maybe 8.
I don't agree with you, but I understand what you're saying. I would say, yeah, okay, he's got the biggest bust potential only because his ranking is so high.
Well, that's
do you know what I mean?
His ADP across the board is somewhere around 8, right? So if you get the 8th pick, that means you wrap back around and you get the 14th pick, 16th pick. So you're going to take a Najee Harris, and then your next pick is going to be something like, if you're lucky, maybe an Aaron Jones, who's splitting work with.
Oh,
with
man, you
AJ
think he's going to go that high? Well, we're going to get into rankings pretty soon. But I understand what you're saying. You're saying that you're going to gas on him, and then you're going to miss out on anything replaceable. And if he goes
Correct.
down or if he tanks, but yeah, and I'm in agreement with you there. But, I don't think it's unimaginable that the Steelers' running back position would suffer because their line isn't great and they don't really have a quarterback. It's just the fact that it's Najee Harris and everybody's going to be drafting him in probably tier 1 of their running backs. And so that fall could be huge.
Yeah. I mean, dude, people love him. I mean, they're like, oh, he's a 3-down back.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's going to be high in my rankings. I'll tell you that much right now before we jump into him. So
he's a Todd Counselor or Eric Froman pick.
Yeah, I mean, no, I would think Najee's like a Bice pick. He's like a Bissy pick.
I could see Bissy taking him.
So, but I mean, any kind of other strategic things thinking about it. I do not think that the running backs are worthy of investing multiple high picks on, being your first and second rounder.
I am going to probably go, and we talked about this a little bit last week. I'm going to go with the hero RB approach this year, probably. And I want somebody who doesn't have that much of an injury risk and somebody who I know is going to get the opportunity. Now, obviously, it's tough because injuries happen. There's nothing you can really do about them. But people like Christian McCaffrey and Dalvin Cook and Najee Harris, they don't really appeal to me too much. Saquon Barkley doesn't appeal to me. I know their potential is so extreme. But I'm going to go with a guy if I have the number 1 pick, I'll take Taylor, obviously. But I'm going to go more of the...
You're going to take Jonathan Taylor, number 1? Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Give me a hell yeah.
I know it's crazy.
It's insane.
Yeah, it's wild.
Can you believe that?
I'm going to go more of the... Austin Eckler. Austin Eckler is probably my number 1 go-to for running backs this year. If he's available, I'm taking him. Like he's. I don't care if I'm outside of number 1. If he's anywhere 2 to 12 and he's available, I'm taking Eckler as my number 1 pick.
Yeah, well, I think the problem with gassing on running backs, right, is that you realistically in rounds 1 and 2 could, if you wanted to go running back heavy and do them your first 2 picks, you could get something like Christian McCaffrey and Alvin Kamara, and that could.
He will not be that high. He's not going to get suspended. He's going to wind up being a first round pick or a late first, early second. There's no way he's going to fall to you at 20, 21, 26.
Well, I'm just saying, let's say it does happen, right? I mean, I don't know. You could go McCaffrey and, I don't know, Chubb. I'm trying to just pick 2 higher guys, but that you could get 12-team league. You pick, 3 to 5. You get McCaffrey, and then on the back end, Kamara might be sitting there. Chubb might be sitting there. I mean, it really depends on how it goes. Maybe not. But, I mean, you could go, well, all right, so let's do something. You could go Christian McCaffrey and Miles Sanders. Let's go something like that, right? That's probably more manageable for you.
I don't think of Miles Sanders. I think you were closer with your first.
All right. So I can't make you happy, motherfucker. So anyway, but you could go with one of those 2 guys. McCaffrey could get hurt.
Fournette.
Fine. Fournette and McCaffrey. And McCaffrey could get hurt, and Fournette could just completely come back down to earth and not have the season he did last year. And then your 2 first picks, which are running backs, don't get you any points, and you're screwed. Because it's going to be really tough to replace both first and second round pick points later on.
Yes.
Right?
If you're gonna go double RB, you need to hammer wide receiver from 3 to 8, or 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 3 to 8. You're not going to get a top tier quarterback because you're going to be trying to chase whatever talent you can get in the wide receiver pool.
Right. Well, so basically, I'm just going to run down a whole bunch of names here. Cam Akers, DeAndre Swift, Nick Chubb, Alvin Kamara, Saquon Barkley, McCaffrey, Dalvin Cook, Joe Mixon, Derrick Henry, Austin Eckler, Jonathan Taylor, Najee Harris. And of those, injury. Eckler, injury prone. Henry, injury prone. Cook, injury prone. McCaffrey, injury prone. Barkley, injury prone. Swift and Akers both have had injury issues.
Wait a second. Wait. Eckler isn't that injury prone.
He was okay last year. The year before that, he got banged up, did he not? And I actually think that you said that Eckler could get hurt last week, too. So, I mean, whatever. Fine. Take Eckler out of it. All the other injuries, what I'm saying is that those are top guys, and they all have question marks. I would rather not invest high picks in that. I'd probably rather go the wide receiver route.
It's yeah, you're right. You're right. The wide receiver.
Well, I don't have to be right. I mean, it's just my opinion, right? So
but it's the safer route. But here's the thing about running backs. We never would have questioned Derrick Henry for 1 second. Now he missed 10 games because of a broken foot.
Nah,
and
I mean, people were questioning it last year a little bit. You knew the end was going to come.
Well, because of the carries.
Yes.
But he still beat the odds over and over and over and over, and now he's injury prone.
Well,
that's what I keep hearing on the radio. He's injury prone.
I mean,
he's injury prone.
It was what, a Liz Frank injury? It was a foot injury? I mean, it wasn't...
It was some sort of foot. I don't know. I don't really know what it was.
I mean, rarely do backs that have a lot of wear and tear suffer, their first injury or significant injury and then bounce back and never deal with something again.
All right, here you go. Austin Eckler. 16 games, 14 games, 16 games, 10 games. That was the pandemic year. 16 games.
Okay.
So the dude only had 1 year.
My God.
Never missed.
You're sharpening your axe on Austin Eckler. Okay, you win. Austin Eckler's not injury bounds.
I'm moving him up. All
right, so let's just start doing the tiers. So, now we talked about strategy. We'll rip through the tiers here. Go ahead. You can start with your first tier.
Yeah, so pretty simple stuff. Everybody talks about this. This isn't anything anybody doesn't know. But Jonathan Taylor is obviously up there. Austin Eckler is probably my number 2. And outside of that, I kind of separated them from everybody else. I don't want to make a big tier 1.
No, I'm with you. I'm completely with you because I did the same thing. It's just in mine. We both had Jonathan Taylor. He's my number 1. And then I had Najee Harris.
Okay. So the first tier, everyone fucks this up. The first tier should be who legitimately you think is going to finish as the number 1 running back in fantasy sports. That's the way I look at it.
Well, okay. I look at it similar but a little different. I look at it as who are you going to draft that's going to get you, heavy points consistently.
The best average. That's. I mean, it's similar. Yes, it's very
best
very
average.
similar.
I just said best average in a really long roundabout way.
Yes,
because I love to do that. So yes, you're right. Best average.
Right. So people who don't really know fantasy sports tend to just see a really big number from last week, and they're like, "Oh, that guy's great. He's going to do it again." Right.
Well, that lists potential. That's the potential factor.
Right, that's the potential. That's the ceiling, if you want to say it that way. That's the ceiling. Nobody ever goes to points per game. They just go to total points. Right? That's it. That's the go-to. Nobody ever looks at it as, this is the potential the guy has versus what he actually is producing.
Well, even more than the stock market, fantasy football has the biggest FOMO factor, fear of missing out, than you'll ever see anywhere else.
Yes.
And so anybody that pops. But to that end, we were talking about average. I think I'm going to go back and defend what I said originally. I didn't really mean best average because I don't want 40, 10, 35, 6. I want 25, 20, 30, 23. I want consistent numbers that are high. And I don't want what you had just mentioned there about, gassing on the person that drops 40 one week and then they come back to earth and get 5 the week after.
Yeah, like Tyler Lockett. He's the definition of boom or bust.
Oh, wow. Car crash. I'm watching Massachusetts versus Maine on Little League World Series, and I don't know which team is which. I'm going to say that Massachusetts is the team in white. But this kid just threw a grounder and ran down first baseline, and whoever they threw it to or ran right, they collided right at first base. They crashed, and then I guess the guy in Maine, the kid on Maine, he gets up and he just blatantly just goes, fuck. Yeah. Oh, man. It was a second baseman, decided to take it himself, ran all the way to first, and that is a collision. But then
he takes the grounder and runs it to first?
Took the grounder, ran it to first. The batter got there at the same time, so it was literally like a fucking NFL hit. Collision on first. They fall, and then the camera's right on the kid's face. He just picks his head up and just goes, fuck.
Sideline tackle drill.
Nothing like R-rated words in Little League baseball. Yes.
Why? Why didn't he throw the ball? Where was the first baseman?
I don't know. I don't even know if they marked him out or safe. I think they marked him out. They just went, they had to mark him out because they went to commercial. So, but anyway, so back to tier 1. I've got Taylor and Harris. You've got Taylor and Eckler.
Yeah, so I'm a big fan of looking at targets and target shares because in a PPR league, especially, first off, we should have mentioned that all of our leagues that we play in are PPR leagues.
Yeah, I don't know too many people that don't do PPR right now, so I mean, it's kind of like the default scoring, I feel.
Right, but it makes a difference if you're doing half PPR, full PPR, full point PPR. When it comes to that, Eckler he's money. I mean, he's money with getting receptions. Jonathan Taylor is surprisingly good for how big he is when he gets the opportunity. Now, the question is Matt Ryan one of those guys that is going to dump it off and give Taylor the opportunity for those extra points? Najee was actually really good for somebody that I looked at as kind of like a bruiser. So
yes, for sure. Well, comparing the three, right? So Taylor had the highest percentage on the ground at 1,800 yards, about 400 through the air, and then Eckler had about 650 in the air and 900 on the ground, and then you had Najee, who was 1,200 on the ground and about 500 through the air. So, obviously Eckler heavier on receptions, on receiving yards, Harris kind of the even split, and then Taylor bigger on the ground.
Yeah. Taylor was really, really good last year.
He was phenomenal.
And CBS Sports, their fantasy podcast, Azer was talking about, he actually brought up a really cool stat. They compared the last 20 years of the number one running back points. So who finished first as the running back for the past 20 years? Do you want to guess where Taylor finished out of the top 20 last year?
Okay, hold on. Just give me the cliff notes on that one again. ESPN.
No, CBS.
CBS. Oh, that's right. Azer. They were talking about it. Okay.
So Azer went back for the past 20 years and compared who the number one running backs in each year were.
Yep.
What their total points were.
Sure. I'm with you now.
Where do you think Taylor finished out of those past 20 years?
Pretty high. I would think pretty high. I don't know what the population was over the past 20 years.
No, it's just the top guy. So there's 20
players.
Just
the top guy. 1,800 yards. Probably about 5 or 6.
12th.
Oh, all right. Lower than I thought. 1,800 the ground, but only, 400 in the... who... Did he go through who beat him?
He did. It's
Was it like the Priest Holmes and the
Todd Gurley?
who else? Arian the Barbarian. Arian Foster had some monster years. Marshall Faulk.
Yeah,
LaDainian Tomlinson.
Tomlinson was up there.
Yeah.
Gurley was up there. I mean, those dudes. And you're talking, McCaffrey. McCaffrey was like 2 or 3 of the years.
Okay.
I mean, their averages were far and away. Like points, like numerous points a game. Not just like 2 points per game, but like 7 points per game better.
Well, I mean, obviously, running back position featured more back in the day, I mean, that's what I would attribute that to.
I was shocked.
Yeah, I mean, it was a big year, but I mean, there's been bigger. I'm sure Adrian Peterson might have been up there with one of his big years with all the touchdowns and the yardage on the ground. I don't know. Was that this week? I'll have to listen to it. I used to listen to their podcast a lot more than I do now, but I still do it once in a while.
I think it was last year. I really like listening to Dave Richards. I think he's the best one.
Yeah, I'm a fan of Richards. And Azer's a good driver too. He's a
Azer's great, man.
Yeah, he's great.
He does a great job with that show.
Yeah, like I said, he saved my ass when I was in grad school and decided, I want to be doing wake radio in the sports division, or not wake radio, sorry, UM radio in the sports division. We had to do play-by-play, and they lined me up for, I think, a basketball game and a volleyball game, and I did not know what the fuck I was doing. And they lined me up with Azer, and he saved my ass by basically just doing the whole broadcast. I didn't know what I was doing. I was like, I wanted to do radio. I didn't want to do play-by-play. But anyway, so that was our tier 1 and 2, or tier 1. We'll get into 2. I'll do 2. I had Eckler there where you had him in 1. And then the rest of mine is like Henry, Mixon, and Cook. That's who I put in there. I did that basically because even with the injury, the prone to injury as Dalvin Cook is, he usually scores a lot of points when he doesn't. So the risk was worth it for me. Joe Mixon, I mean, his numbers are there. He should be there. I mean, he had a solid year, still young. On a Bengals offense, it's going to have a lot of opportunity. Henry, I'm scared about the injury. I'm scared about him coming back. But before he got injured last year, he averaged more than anybody else. He averaged more than Taylor last year before he went out.
Yeah, he was a beast.
He was a monster.
He was a beast.
And then Eckler for the reasons that you already talked about. So that was my tier 2. And I don't know how that compares to yours.
Yeah, Harris, Cook, Henry. I'm not a fan of Swift, but I know that the opportunity's going to be there for him.
Wow, you put him in tier 2?
It's really hard not to, man.
I think that's aggressive.
But who's his competition?
No, I mean, he doesn't have position. He doesn't have competition within the team. I just don't know, man. He's had moments that he's looked great. I just haven't seen any kind of consistency, and he's been a little banged up. He did not play all last year, right? Or was it the year before?
Year before. Last year, he was the fourth quarter king. He got all when they were just getting hammered by teams, and he would just go off in the fourth quarter. I know.
Yeah, but I don't think he played the entire year last year. That's my point.
No, he didn't. He didn't.
Right?
No,
so he was another one that got hurt.
Yeah, he was another one that got hurt. Detroit does not have any luck with running backs, man. Every one of their
he missed week 13 through 16. So, but again, when he did play, you're right. I mean, he was getting numbers there. He's got a 24, 23, 22, 28, 22, and 16. So through 12 weeks, he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games over 20, and then a 16er. So not bad. But I thought the second tier was a little aggressive for him. But I mean, to each their own, right? So
yeah, I mean, look. You can't. Nobody's going to argue about Najee Harris being 1 or 2. It is what it is.
Yeah, no, that's a split. That's fine.
Derrick Henry is going to be another one that's a split. Because if he's Derrick Henry the way he was, he's easily a top-tier running back. I personally think he's a little bit older and a little bruised up. He's got a lot of tread worn on those tires. And it's going to be tough when a team that's kind of rebuilding. Like they're not what they were last year at all. Swift, pure opportunity. That's the only reason I have him there. And then I'm also going to throw in somebody that kind of is probably going to shock you, and I kind of led up to it before, but I'm going to throw Kamara in the second tier.
I don't really push back on that for the simple fact that, it is Alvin Kamara.
Right.
He is going to play this year. He did not get suspended. So, look, is he going... I think he has the potential to do the Alvin Kamara type things he did in the past. I don't know if that'll hit, but I wouldn't argue with him being in the second round because, let's say Jameis Winston, he kind of rights the ship and gets a little bit of consistency. Doubt that'll happen, but let's say that their offense is somehow consistent and they can figure out a way to actually work Kamara in the offense consistently because things are clicking. I don't see why he couldn't fall into that second tier. I don't have him there, but I wouldn't push back on that. I would push back on DeAndre Swift. I don't know. I know the opportunity's there, but I haven't seen it. There's injury risk. I still have some questions about the Lions. I know everybody's all over them right now, but I'm starting to get a little itchy about that one. But I wouldn't argue with Kamara. I'd push back on Swift.
I have a hard time believing that Swift is going to be taking his position. He's going to give his position up to a Jamal Williams. You know what I mean? Like, he's going to be on the field. He's going to play. If he stays healthy, he'll be a steal at, end of round 2, early round 3. I don't know if people are going to take him because he's a Detroit Lion. Right? Like the Lions.
I'm going to argue it this way. Last year, he had 2 games where he rushed over 60 yards.
Yeah, but this is a PPR league.
I got it. I got you. That's where a lot of his stuff got.
What were his receiving numbers?
They were heavy. I'll just run through them real quick. 65, 41, 60, 33, 53, 43, 96, 24, and then after that, nothing. Because remember, they kind of shelved him. They kind of shelved him after the bye, and then he got hurt.
Yeah. So, but with those came a lot of touchdowns. They came a lot of fourth quarter garbage time bullshit yards, man. And unfortunately, in fantasy, that shit counts.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't put him in 2 because I think there'd be a little bit of risk. But the other guys that you have in 2, I agree with. And Kamara, I wouldn't have a problem with. Because go into your 3.
So 3 is where I begin to have that that kind of fading period where I'm kind of worried because of what everybody's saying, but in my soul I know they're good players. When somebody's good, you're like, but that dude's so good. Why are all these reports coming out that he doesn't look good? Or he looks really good, but he's super injury prone. Or, he's going to lose carries to up-and-comer blah, blah, blah.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Things like that. So, I have Joe Mixon, who's so good, but he's surrounded by so much talent that is Burrow just going to just fire it to all of his receivers? And are they going to score all the touchdowns? Are they going to change it up
it's the opportunity risk, right? Because it might go elsewhere.
Risk. Right, exactly. Saquon Barkley, everybody's saying how freaking good Saquon Barkley looks.
Well, I got Barkley in my third tier too. The question about that is injury.
He's like Odell Beckham, man. Odell Beckham was one of the greatest wide receivers for fantasy ever. But the dude, it's guaranteed he gets hurt. We talked last year. We cursed Odell Beckham because before the Super Bowl, we did our podcast and we spent 10 minutes on how we couldn't believe Beckham didn't get hurt for his entire season.
Yeah, I know.
With the Rams.
And Beckham made that team. I'm sorry.
Made that team.
He made that team.
He did. He completed them, and then he tears his ACL. But anyway, Mixon, Barkley, Aaron Jones. Everybody says AJ Dillon is going to be the one that's going to steal all the good carries, all the goal line work. But at the same time, they're saying Jones is probably going to be the number one receiver in Green Bay. That is very, very enticing. Because if Aaron Rodgers wants to keep dumping it off to Aaron Jones and letting Aaron Jones make plays, how do you not love Aaron Jones?
Well, there's one that we're going to have it differ of, because so far the people that you said, Barkley, I agree with. Mixon, I had one above. And then you're getting into Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. I did not put them in this tier, and the only reason I did not is because I can't figure out for the life of me how it's going to play out. And unfortunately, because I don't know how it's going to play out, that incorporates a lot of risk. And the last thing I want to do is, draft one high and then have my finger on the trigger finger to grab the other one, because I don't want to lose out. Because they're going to split carries. So if I grab the one and I grab the wrong one and the other one takes off, I'm fucked. And so,
but they've been so quiet about it that it makes me think there's some crazy plan where they're both going to play. Like Aaron Jones will be the second slot receiver.
Yeah, no, I mean, Aaron Jones quietly had a good year last year. Right, and
okay.
I mean, he did. I mean, his game log, if you look at it, I mean, he was he had 41, 17, 21, 24, 12 at the end of the year. He got hurt, and then he was a bye. Week 14, 15, 16, 17, he had 21, 15, 13, and 15. Not great, but not terrible. Again, my issue with Aaron Jones is I don't know if this is the year that they go to A.J. Dillon. I don't know if this is the year, like you said, he gets featured in the passing game a ton and his numbers go up. I just don't know. It was too much of a question, so I didn't put him in tier 3.
Yeah, I mean, it's fair. It's fair what you're saying. I don't know. Like, what you're saying is correct in the sense that we don't know, but if there's even the chance that he does become the number one wide receiver for them, for Aaron Rodgers, how do you not love that?
I don't know. I would love not to have A.J. Dillon. Again, I don't know how to read it, and so I stay away from it, or I downgrade it on my tiers.
I'm foreseeing if I take Jones, I'm going to have to waste, 5th round pick on A.J. Dillon.
Yes, that's what I'm saying, and I don't want to do that because
I don't want to do that either.
Because I don't know how that position for Green Bay is going to produce ultimately anyway. So, all right, off of the Green Bay running backs, who else do you have in your 3?
So I have Fournette because Tom Brady loves him.
Okay.
He could come back down to earth, I have Nick Chubb because he's just so good on the ground. He's way better in non-PPR.
Yes, he is the old school. You would pick me a lot higher without the PPR scoring because he's your old school grinder.
He is your old school grinder. So I have him in there. Even with Jacoby Brissett at quarterback there.
I mean, Chubb is dependable on the ground, so you kind of know what you're going to get with him.
You know what you're going to get, right? And you're kind of hoping at this point that they get a Jimmy G, because if they do, Chubb's value just skyrockets.
Yeah, you just want some kind of consistency out of that position rather than Brissett, who, Brissett is what he is. He's a backup quarterback.
Right. And then I end my third tier with David Montgomery, which is very scary. He could be 4th. He could wind up being in the 5th because everyone's talking about Khalil Herbert is going to steal reps from him, blah, blah, blah. But this seems like a training camp bullshit story, and I can't foresee them putting Montgomery on the bench when that dude produces.
Yeah, I heard the same thing today. I'm going to get to Montgomery in a bit, but Bears are shaky to me. It's just Montgomery was solid enough that I had to put him, close here. in the top couple of tiers. I just don't have him in 3.
Yeah, that's the end of my 3.
Well, my 3 was so my 2 and my 3 are just completely injury riddled. So when I start out here in 3, in no particular order, I got McCaffrey, Barkley, Kamara, Chubb, Swift, and Akers. And again, the issue with it is that they're all injury riddled. Everybody is. I mean, whatever. If you play fantasy football, you love McCaffrey, you love Barkley. You don't want to touch them because now they're always hurt, right?
Yep.
But again, it's potential, and it's kind of like if they're sitting there around that third round tier, not third round where you're drafting, but your third tier, and they're available there. I mean, it's kind of a snatch because it's like I can't pass up those points. I can't do it. But
It's
I can't.
very tough.
I can't go too high on them. Because again, if they're gone, it really hurts your bottom line. It kills it.
It kills you.
Yeah.
It kills you.
It was like me. I had to battle back all last year in your league because I grabbed J.K. Dobbins, I think, with my second pick, and he got injured in preseason, and that was it. And I fought back mightily, but you lose that pick, such a high pick, and it's tough to come back from.
Yeah.
So
it's very tough. And remember, we're getting into like the third tiers, right? So you're starting to talk about round 5, round 6.
Yeah, but I don't think so with these guys because I think these guys are. I think everybody's still stuck in the old school running back mentality where people are just going to start snagging these guys in rounds 1, 2, and 3, and you're going to be like, shit, who's left?
I said 5 and 6. I meant 4 and 5. You're like this. This is where I start to waver, and I think to myself, okay, do I take David Montgomery with the fourth round pick, or do I go for a solid wide receiver who I see with a lot more potential than a guy who's kind of risky, who may or may not be sidelined by a guy who's a second-year running back.
Right. No, I'm with you. I got you. Well, to wrap up 3 here, like I said, Chubb, same reasons that you did. He consistently runs. He doesn't get maybe the greatest point total, but he might be good for an average of 15 just all on the ground. Kamara, much like you said, I think he's got potential in there, and he had a decent year. Swift, I put him there because of what you were mentioning in potential. Like, point potential, opportunity potential, he's got all that. And then Cam Akers, look, last year Cam Akers was set to set the world on fire. Everybody and their brother thought he was going to be the running back in McVay's system that was going to turn into the next LT, or I can't believe I just called Tomlinson LT, but Tomlinson or the next Marshall Faulk, and he blows out his Achilles, and when he came back, he didn't look good. So I'm thinking that now, 1 year later, this might be the coming out party everybody expected last year, right? And so I put him at the back end of my 3.
That's fair. I wouldn't really question that.
So, and then that brings us up to 4. And again, I just think, 1 through 3, we were just talking about it before when you were talking about these guys getting drafted in the high rounds. Like, if I'm putting, Nick Chubb, DeAndre Swift, and Cam Akers at a tier 3, and those guys are getting grabbed round 2 and round 3 in the draft, I'm just letting them go because I don't see him up there. The only guys I would probably reach on out of my top 3 would be the injury guys that had a ton of potential, McCaffrey and Barkley. Those would be the only 2 that push comes to shove. I'm like, man, do I really want to pull the trigger and grab one of these guys? I would think about it.
Yeah. You know what? It's so tough when you're talking about fantasy. I think we talked about this last week too. It's like we could have this whole plan set up where I love my tiers. I love specific people.
Yeah,
but then
the draft goes screwy.
It goes screwy.
Yeah.
In like the second round, all the quarterbacks are gone. You're like, what?
Yeah.
What just happened?
True that. So
and you're at pick 24 and like Kamara's still there and you're like, well, I gotta take Kamara now, even though I don't want to go running back, but like, fuck, Derrick Henry's still on the board or some shit, right? And
yeah,
you're like,
of course.
Oh, okay, all right, I guess I'm going running back.
Well, to that end, here's the guy that leads off my tier 4 is going to be one of those guys that I would put him much higher, and I know that somebody's going to gas on him super quick, and that's Javonte Williams. But
I knew you were going to say it.
Yeah.
I knew it.
Dude, that guy's...
Knew.
Javonte Williams is like a tier 2 guy. If you had any confidence that he was not going to get carries eaten by Melvin Gordon, or if you knew what you were going to get out of this new offense.
He could easily be like high-end tier 2.
Yeah.
If fucking Gordon wasn't there and they were just going to go with the type of offense that reminds me of like the old school Rams, right? Where they had a Marshall Faulk and then Javonte Williams is Marshall Faulk, Russell Wilson is the quarterback, and they're just going to be the greatest show in Mile
on turf.
High.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Oh, yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
What is it called? Mile High Field at Invesco Stadium? Whatever it is.
Everybody's selling the naming, right? They changed Heinz Field.
Well, they changed Heinz Field, and then they just changed another one, too. Who else just changed? Somebody else just changed this week.
Paul Brown, Paul something Stadium.
Oh, did they change the Bengals to something?
Yeah, and then the guy.
Yeah, that was the story. Okay.
The owner, I guess, is Paul Brown's son or something, and
yeah, whatever.
He said,
name and right story. Who gives a fuck?
Fucking cares.
Yeah, I mean, done with it. But anyway, yeah, Javonte Williams, right? I mean, if you knew what you're getting out of him, he would be a tier 2 guy. But with all the question marks now, with Melvin Gordon having a bad wheel, if that ends up becoming a little bit more over the next couple of weeks, he would be the first one I'd push up.
I know. Yeah, the article I read a couple hours ago said that it was a minor foot injury, not a big deal. We'll see. We'll see in like 2 weeks how minor that injury is.
So the rest of my tier 4, which is filled with injury and bust potential, is J.K. Dobbins, David Montgomery, Leonard Fournette, Miles Sanders, Breece Hall, Rashad Penny, Aaron Jones, A.J. Dillon, and then Zeke. And so that...
You have Aaron Jones in your 4th tier.
I put him in the 4th tier, even though I know he's not going to be there. No, the problem is I don't know what to do with him. So I've got to bring him down because I can't go tiers 1, 2, and 3 with a dual backfield that maybe he falls off this year. I just don't know what to do with it. So there are a lot more people. People have him all the way up in like tier 2, tier 3. I heard some on one podcast, and I don't remember what it is. They were pushing him like he was a possible 1, right? A tier 1. And I was like, I can't even listen to this because, yeah, sure. All the things hit. He gets featured out of the backfield. Plus he gets the running yards. The Green Bay's offense doesn't fall back as much as people think it will without Devontae Adams. And sure, Aaron Jones is a monster, and he probably is tier 2 talent. I just can't put him there because I have no fucking clue.
Fair enough.
So that's why I put him there at 4. Zeke, he's going to get a ton of carries. It's just he looks slow. Looks slow as shit. I mean, this is I think the last year of that redone contract that he did. So I think he's on a contract year. You want to check that. So maybe that puts a little fire under his butt. But regardless, he just has not looked strong over the past couple of years. It's good for maybe like 12 to 15 points, but I don't know if he gets you those big games anymore. So that throws him all the way down here. Some swing for the halls. Breece Hall, it's only because they say he's going to be the running back, right? He says that, Michael Carter's just going to take a back seat and Breece Hall's going to get all this play. And so rookie running backs, I love them. Potential's there. Rashad Penny ended the season phenomenally. I mean, he was a monster. I mean, if Rashad Penny played maybe 6 weeks at the level he played the last 3, people would be talking about him in rounds 2.
He's in my long shots category. Like, he's somebody that you're taking a chance on, and you're hoping the 25 to 1 shot lands because he is not going to be able to reproduce what he did last year.
Yeah,
it's not going to happen.
I mean, you don't think so, but again, now I have injury next to him, and he's hurt right now. So of those guys that I talked about, Javonte Williams, I had the boom factor. Miles Sanders, he's on a phenomenal line. Everybody's expected him to be Saquon Barkley-esque because he came out of Penn State like the year after, 2 years after, whatever it was, and you figured on an offense.
Who is that?
Miles Sanders.
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah,
and so everybody's been waiting for him.
Never again.
Well, I'm with you, but you never know, right? And their line is one of the better ones. He's got the dual threat capability, and you're thinking maybe it comes through. So I have a boom factor on him, and then A.J. Dillon. I got a boom on him and an Aaron Jones on a bus because of those two guys. A.J. Dillon seems to be the one that everybody's waiting to see, take the reins. And then, injury. J.K. Dobbins coming back from ACL. Montgomery, I just don't have I just don't know about. Fournette, I mean, he came in 260 pounds. I got a bust factor on him. Not to mention the offense just lost their center. And, things sound a little crazy in Tampa Bay right now, plus the Todd Bowles factor. So my fourth round is just filled with, a lot of question marks. And it goes downhill from there after 4, going into 5 and 6. But go ahead.
Yeah, so for 4, you've named almost every player I had. But Javonte Williams, ATN, who I don't even know. ATN's only in my 4th tier because everybody's saying that he's going to be good.
Yeah.
He was great at Clemson. Don't get me wrong. I get it. They have the connection, but he's still a dude coming off a major foot surgery in his 2nd year in the NFL.
Yeah, I have him in 5. I have him in 5 for all the same reasons that you're talking about. You haven't even seen the guy play. It's just all potential and the fact that he was great on college.
It's all potential. That's it.
Now, the question mark about Etienne for me, which made me push him down, is we still don't know if Peterson's a good coach or if it was Frank Reich that was really the good coach. And, Peterson just kind of rode his coattails. So, on top of that, you just don't know anything else about this Jacksonville team. So,
right.
I just don't know how they'll get to use him. We'll have to see him in preseason, and I think they just said today he wasn't playing this week. So you don't even know what you're going to get in him.
Well, I think the point needs to be made here, too, that these are our tiers. These aren't our average draft position.
Yeah,
meaning we're going to tier people out of even drafting them. You know what I mean? Like you put somebody so far down in the tiers that you're never going to get them this year anyway, right? Like this is our way of just ranking players. We wind up tiering ourselves out of a draft pick. It's going to happen. Like I doubt I'm going to get ATM because he's going high, man. He's going
right. I think I'm going to get somebody in tier 4 or 5 as my first running back.
I'm with you. Maybe 3. Like I'm tiering myself out of specific picks.
Yeah, it depends on the wide receivers that are there. But yeah,
ATN's going in the 3rd round. I'm not taking Travis Etienne in the 3rd. He's a Jaguar.
Right, I agree. With no history. Like what the fuck are we doing here, guys?
What are we doing? What are you doing?
But I mean, people love him. So I continue on with your tier because I'm just conscious of the clock here, and I don't want to lose you here.
I know. So Connor is there because of the end of the season last year. Akers, I guess, is there because they say, I don't know, they say he's good.
Again, it's potential, and he should have been that last year.
Breece Hall is there because everybody says he's got the stat, what were they saying all over the radio and articles?
Well, they just said they drafted him basically to play, right?
I know. But no. They were comparing him to the same stats as like a Jonathan Taylor, where you knew he can carry the load. He's a big dude. He's proven that he can take a hit and keep on going. So the problem is he's on the Jets. If he was on the Rams, if he was on the 49ers, he'd probably be a first-round pick.
Sure.
Or a second-round pick.
Right.
Dobbins, because that dude has so much potential.
Yeah, I mean, he is an injury boom candidate for me because you never really got to see him in year 2 because he got hurt. So.
Yeah. And then I got Dillon and Hunt. in here too as well.
All right, so your Dylan is where my Dylan is. The only thing is that you put Aaron Jones up higher, and then you put Kareem Hunt. There's going to be a difference for me because I got Hunt all the way down at 6 because everything there just stinks. He wants a trade. I don't know. I mean, they were using him quite a bit, and he looked good when they did. But last year, how did he finish last year in terms of numbers? I don't think it was as strong as the year before.
Well, he started out, he was a monster to begin the season. He was like RB5 until he went down.
Yeah, I'm looking here. Yeah, and then he went down, and then that kind of shot it. But anyway, I put Hunt down at 6.
But he's just like Dylan. There's extremely high-end backups, right? Like so high that you're tearing them. He's just like Dylan.
Well, what's funny about Hunt, I know what you're saying about him and Dylan. What's funny about Hunt to me is that when he was in Kansas City, I think he went like one of the top tier 1 the next year because he had so much versatility. And then he got placed
so good.
out of that offense because he kicked that girl, and that completely derailed his career.
Yep,
off a video that we talked about. He didn't really fucking kick her. I mean, he kicked her, but he didn't kick her.
No, he didn't kick her. He pushed her over.
Yeah, well, it was like a kick in the butt, but he didn't wind up and pelt her. It was,
no, I know. That's what
and
I'm
she was banging on the door beforehand. Again, go watch that video.
It was so fucked. It was so stupid. He got hammered for something he didn't even do.
Well, it was on the coattails of the Ray Rice shit. So and the Ray,
I know.
You want to talk about somebody that should have gotten blackballed? Go look. Ray Rice is the one because that video never came out, right? Or did it?
It came out.
It came out, right? He belted her in that, and he dragged her out of the. They didn't have the punch.
Her by her hair.
Yeah, they didn't have the punch, right? They just, or did they have the punch, or did they just have him dragging her out of the?
It was so bad.
I forgot what it was, but it was not Kareem Hunt.
No, Kareem Hunt just, which is funny because it was whatever. Regardless, we're wasting time. So let's move on to 5 because these are the guys that I'm going to settle on as RB2s.
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
So I got Mitchell there. I got Gibson here.
Okay.
I got Zeke here.
All right, well, I've got Mitchell and Gibson, and Zeke was at the end of my 4. So we're kind of in lockstep this entire...
Yeah. CEH because...
Yup, he's the top of my 5.
I don't know anybody else they have. I mean, they have. Now the report is that what's his name's not even going to make the team. Ronald Jones isn't even going to make the team.
Yeah, I mean, okay. I mean, so be it.
But
Ronald Jones is kind of junk.
Apparently, they really love this rookie they got. Let me say his name before we forget. Isaiah Pacheco.
Yeah. That I don't know. Maybe Isaiah Pacheco.
Yeah, he's apparently looked unbelievable in camp, and they love him.
Okay.
And then Miles Sanders and Devin Singletary. These are my. If I have to settle on an RB2, and I don't go early, if I don't go 2 RBs early, these are the guys I'm going to wind up settling on. Okay.
Yeah, Singletary I've got in my 6. So, I mean, was that the end of your 5? I just cut you off.
Yeah.
That was the end of your... Okay, so my 5, similar and different. I got Etienne, who you already talked about, CEH, Gibson, Elijah Mitchell, James Conner, Josh Jacobs. I got Harris and Stevenson. I've got the 2 Patriots. And Cordell Patterson, and that's who I put up there. And I just, by the 5th round, I don't even know what to do with these guys because, like Harris and Stevenson, I would have had them higher up, but all you've heard is terrible shit coming out of New England about their entire offense. And it sounds like that people love Stevenson, but now with a banged-up offense, I don't really know. Josh Jacobs, it sounds like, Raiders line, not good. He got playing time in the first, in the whatever game, the Hall of Fame game, which was really questionable. Why are you playing him? So that's who I have there. So there's some similarities there to yours, especially the guys we were CEH, Ateon, Gibson. We all had them. You had Mitchell, Connor. You mentioned, and then I throw in different ones: Patterson, Jacobs, Harrison, Stevenson.
Yeah, we're very close on all of our.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because we didn't talk about this prior, so we just happen to be ranking these in similar ways.
I didn't even go past 5. I turned 6 into long shots. And
okay.
I turned 7 into must-have backups.
All right, so, and they're kind of the same with me, so I'll just do my 6 and 7, and that'll lead into yours since you didn't do it by round, or by tier, that is. So my 6 was Hunt, who is way farther down than yours because I just don't have any faith in him. Plus, I think he might get traded. I don't know where he's going to land.
Yeah, but why wouldn't you have him higher if he's going to get traded? He's going to go somewhere where he's an RB1.
Yeah, there's just too much question. There's just too much risk for Hunt for me. I can't get the guaranteed points. I don't know what his potential is. So he's just a great player in a bad situation, and I just don't want anything to do with it. So I have him down at 6.
Yeah, whatever. We can move on.
So Chase Edmonds, Raheem Mostert, Tony Pollard, James Robinson, Devin Singletary, Melvin Gordon, Kenneth Walker. Walker might be going up, especially if what's-his-face Penny is hurt. Because, I mean, they drafted Walker kind of high, and then sure enough, if Penny's hurt, then Walker's going to get the opportunities. And then my biggest boom of that tier is James Cook. Because I think Cook can go there into Buffalo and give them the back that they were hoping to get with Singletary, hoping to get with Moss, hoping to get with McKissick when they signed him and then lost him. And so, I mean, this year there's not a lot of sleepers, but if there's some guy that could just slip a little bit and still be floating around there, Cook is the one guy I keep looking at.
Yes, Cook is in my must-have backups.
Okay, because Singletary was higher on your list. Yeah.
He was 5th. I mean, he's the end of my 5th tier. Singletary is somebody that you can probably get really, really late in drafts, and then just take Cook as well, even later.
Yes.
And just sit on it.
Yeah, you could do that. I mean, nobody's going to touch Singletary because he's just been too much of a question mark. I think people could grab Cook before Singletary.
Yeah, so the past 2 years, I did it with the Bills running backs. I sat on every running back they had. So I had Singletary and fucking Zach Moss last year. And then the year before that, I had Singletary, Moss, and somebody else. I don't even remember. The dude that filled in for like a day. I don't remember his name. But I tried, and like it took all 2 years for Singletary to finally blow up. He blew up at the end of last year.
Yeah, he had the monster game. So at the end of last year, and this is the reason that a lot of people are featuring Singletary higher, was that after having a really mediocre 13 weeks of the season, he came on in week 14, and he got 15 points, 17 points, 19 points, 23 points, and 25 points.
Yeah, he just blew up.
And did it with some heavy volume, too. Like, in terms of carries, starting in week 14, he only had 4. He had, 6 receptions for 37, which is why he had a lot of points there. But then after that, he had 22 carries, 12 carries, 23 carries, and 19 carries.
Yeah, he's a volume back. He needs volume. But to talk about my tier 6, these are what I consider like my long shots. People like you're going to take a chance on, stick them on the bench, and hope that they wind up producing more than you could possibly imagine. That is Rashad Penny, Chase Edmonds, Damian Harris, and Josh Jacobs.
Okay.
I don't like these guys. These are the guys, once again, I'm just taking a chance on and waiting for them to prove to me that they're worthy of a RB2 spot.
Yeah, no, I got you. I gotta pause for a hot 2 seconds. My oldest, Anthony, your godson here, he's peacing out. He's going to be heading down to the shore a little early this weekend. So we're going down tomorrow night. He's leaving today. So you want to say a quick hi to your uncle here?
Hi, Uncle Lego.
Hey, buddy. Can you hear me or no?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, I'm gonna see you next week, right?
Yeah, on the what day?
We fly in on Wednesday.
That's
Wednesday.
that's a little early, is it not?
He's going to be up here Wednesday for a full week and a half.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Yep.
So
I'm so excited to see you guys.
yeah, it'll be a good time. So you have fun at the shore, and I'll see you tomorrow night.
All right.
All right?
Love you, Dad.
See you, buddy. I love you too.
Peace out.
All right. Remember to do that.
So, yeah, I'm going to take off. He wants me to take off his time limit. So I'll do that right now, okay, champ? So back to we're wrapping up here, and we're finishing off. So continue on, with your sleepers and your must-have handcuffs and the rest.
Yeah. So those are my long shots: Penny, Edmonds, Harris, and Jacobs. And then the must-have backups. These are the people like we were just talking about that if you're gonna go real early on one of the other running backs, don't be a fool. Waste a 10th round pick on their backup, like James Cook, Stevenson, who you're talking about. Stevenson should be the starter, and he should be really good. But
yes,
they have this faith in Damian Harris. I don't know why. Stevenson is a monster. Alexander Madison. If you fucking take Dalvin Cook, take Madison and sit on him all year long. Don't drop him. I don't care how screwed up your bench looks and how you can't fill a position. Drop somebody else. Hold on to Madison because he is one injury away from being a 25 points a week guy. Tony Pollard. Let's face it. He's going to be the next Dallas running back. He just needs the opportunity.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought last year was going to be the year that he came through and he didn't. So I'm kind of off Tony Pollard this year. Although they're featuring him as a wide receiver this year in the slot, and that's his that's his high billing this year.
Zeke's done. But let me finish this up. So we've got Henderson, Darrell Henderson, Khalil Herbert, and Deontay Foreman, mainly because you need the backup to McCaffrey. I'm not necessarily going to.
Yeah, Foreman looked good last year. He looked good down in Houston.
He looked good.
So, and Herbert, I have heard Herbert talked about quite a bit, right, in place of Montgomery. And that was all a knock to Montgomery. I got Montgomery in 4, and I think you have Montgomery in either 3 or 4.
End of 3, yeah.
End of 3. And so Herbert scares me a little bit because even without the injury factor, maybe his God-given abilities puts him up there and eats into the carries a little bit. But I'll keep an eye on him. But it wasn't enough to make me move Montgomery down. But I did consider it looking at it.
Yeah, I just think it's crucial if you're going to waste a very, very high draft pick on somebody with such injury potential as a McCaffrey or, I guess we could say a Barkley or, a Dalvin Cook. You can't just waste the mid-round pick on – try and remember, first off, because I've done that 100 times where you forget that, you need the backup and you're like, shit, I forgot I need –
Well, people love grabbing backups and handcuffs, and so the problem with handcuffs and why I don't like grabbing a position that you need to grab the handcuff is that there's always somebody that is eyeing them and is like, I'm grabbing them before that motherfucker's going to get his backup.
Yes.
And so you're like, I just got to make sure I get the handcuff. Oh, no, what? Why did you take him right there? I can't believe that person X grabbed the handcuff that early. And then, they're shooting you texts like, haha, you thought you were getting the backup later, huh?
And they waste an 8th round pick on it too. Are you fucking kidding me?
It's like the person that gassed on IDP
sucks.
super early, right? I mean, it was kind of like, oh, really? Going that early with that?
It's like 5th round. They're taking Shaquille Leonard, and you're like, oh.
But the perfect person for that, it's Madison, right? Somebody's going to take Madison, way earlier than he should because they're like, Cook's going to get hurt, and then I've got Madison.
Yep.
And Madison is like a legit player. It's just he doesn't have the opportunity because he's stuck behind Cook.
He's got 1 year left. He'll be a starter somewhere else, or they'll get rid of Cook.
I don't know if they'll get rid of Cook. Well, we'll have to find out. But
Cook's getting old, man.
I mean, he's getting old, and I think we're getting a little old here talking about these running backs. There's really nothing left, right? I mean, we've really covered everything.
That's the end of my life. I mean, we could keep talking about. You could keep going, but that's the only people I care about at this point.
Yeah, no, and again, I think the reason that it's a little harder to talk about the running backs this year is, relatively speaking, I just think it's a weaker position. I think ultimately it's going to be the position that decides. I said this last week, but the position that decides the fantasy seasons, because whoever actually hits on theirs, you're going to be getting points that other teams probably aren't, because you know that somebody's going to get, a running back's injured, and there's just a lot of injury and bust potential here, where I don't think there's that much in the wide receivers. For me, though, I want the guaranteed points, and I'm going to take those with the wide receivers rather than the running backs this year, and I'm probably going to be looking farther down the end here. So, when somebody else grabs Barkley and McCaffrey and they blow up after getting, snagged in round one, whoever could have gotten them and grabbed somebody else instead is going to be like, God damn it, I can't believe he just played 17 games and, was averaging 25 points a game. Fuck.
Yeah.
Which always happens. So, I don't know. That's everything, out of my head. You got any other pearls of wit or wisdom?
No.
Or like I said before, tits or tidbits?
Eggies of the South have to get their child into the bath and into bed because it's already 7:20. So.
Okay. Well, you then do that, and I'm going to go and watch myself the end of this Giants-Patriots preseason game. 3-0 Giants. 5 minutes left here in the first quarter, so 3 points closer to that 32-point over-under, or whatever the hell it was, 34.5, for all you degenerates. Yeah. Nobody playing in this one, although Danny Dimes did get the start. Didn't look terrible. Barkley looked okay, but they're playing against, New England played nobody in this game, so. You go change some diapers, give some baths, give hugs and kisses to the family for me, and for us, the Eggies, that is. And I will talk to you next week.
All right, dude.
Next Thursday in town?
Yeah, I'll be there.
All right, so we will actually do an in-person podcast next week. First time ever, a matter of fact. So, all right, enjoy your weekends, everybody. Chris, peace out. We'll talk to you guys next week.
See you, dude.
See you.